Hello and welcome to Divisive Issues, a foul-mouthed, spoiler-filled comic book podcast where two comic fans and two non-comic fans talk about controversial comic books and comic book history. I'm Sly.
I'm Ryan.
I'm Phil.
And I'm Darryl.
And we come to the end of Legacyvember to talk about Legacy.
Yeah, Carol Danvers. Finally, I'm ready.
Legacy's Captain Marvel, the other one. This is Legacy, the Legacy character.
Oh, Legacy.
I just want to say, we will be returning to Carol Danvers soon, right?
Yes, after the holiday break, we'll do Christmas episodes, back issues. We'll be back for Carol to set up for her movie coming out. We'll talk about her history.
Good.
This was to set up some of the convoluted history of Captain Marvel for Legacyvember. And I think this was, for me, I want to do the story for Legacyvember because it shows the other side of Legacy. When it's not just all inspiring, I will live up to you.
And by Legacy, Sly means the character Genus, who is Captain Marvel's son, who takes his mantle of being Captain Marvel.
Yes.
Didn't we say it was Ginus last time?
No, that's Rick Jones calls him Genus.
Also, we're calling him Legacy. He's never called Legacy once in this comic.
Okay, yeah. So I apologize. He already dropped Legacy a long time ago. But his name was Legacy, so I just keep calling him Legacy.
It's
but
Genus to his buds.
Yeah, Jenny. If you're his bud, his Genius to everyone else.
Ginus if you're his enemy.
So we have to get to the history of Genius a little bit. Of all the other fucking histories we've gone to.
So last time we saw him, he was pouring one out for his homies over his dead dad's grave.
Yeah, and then we mentioned that series got canceled and never got the story really resolved. And we talked about how that was like the worst era of comics. And they had an event called Avengers Forever, which was an attempt to undo the '90s, basically in a lot of ways for the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like when I mentioned Tony Stark became a teenager, Avengers Forever is the event that undid that, and they tried to make Avengers more like a classic style, like more what you expect to see in like the movies now. Like the movies make it quaint, but that like the style, the more fun kind of comics you see now, or more fun kind of Marvel you see now, it was pretty much dead by the mid '90s, and like Avengers Forever started gearing things back to a more colorful era.
Critically and for fans, it was a big success.
So they were like, make comics great again, and everyone elected them.
pretty much.
Okay.
Yeah. So in Avengers Forever, they also tried to make Genius not just a '90s edgelord. Rick Jones went to the future. He met future Janus. And then he merged with future Janus, and when he went back into the past, he merged with past Janus because of weird science bullshit.
Wait, Rick Jones merged with them? Yeah,
Rick James.
What are you saying?
I'm Rick James, bitch.
What do you mean by like he merged with them? Like they became the same person?
His dad.
The nega bands.
They occupy the same space. You have to switch with the nega bands.
Yeah, I feel like that's not merging. That's like you enter into this weird contract where you switch places every now and then.
I know, but they call it merging all the time. It's
not merging because I don't think of Rick Jones when I think of Janus.
Now, I have a question, Sly. You know a lot more about Captain Marvel than me.
Yeah,
if they were in the middle of switching and you unplugged the link cable, would you get two Captain Marvels?
That's a good question. So they made Rick Jones merge with Janus, and Peter David was given the book. Peter David is one of my favorite comic book writers, but he is one of the most underrated ones because he started as he wanted to be a writer. He never got to work. He became a publisher instead. So then we tried to transition back into writing. People at Marvel hated him because they viewed it as a conflict of interest. So he was always getting pulled off books. Like we talked, one of his earliest comics was a Spider-Man story called Death of Ginger Wolf, which is one of my favorite Spider-Man stories of all time. After he wrote that, he was pulled off the book immediately because Marvel was like, fuck you, we hate you, Peter David. and they always gave him books that nobody else wanted to do. Like he became the definitive writer for the Incredible Hulk. He wrote Hulk for like 11 years, I forget how many years, but many years. He's like definitive writer for Hulk. And it's only because literally no one else wanted to write Hulk. Everyone was like, we really don't want to write this character anymore. Peter David, you have him now. And Peter David was like, I guess I'll do it.
And he wrote the book for 11 years, and then someone else, John Byrne, was like, I want to write Hulk, and they kicked Peter David off.
Yeah, that's why Peter David got Captain Marvel. And that leads, this is where Peter David entered into the modern era of Peter David, unfortunately, where if you see him at conventions, he's usually writing some C-list book and just saying, I'm really happy to still be working, like, thank God. Because what happened to the first Captain Marvel run, it got canceled. It lasted for 35 issues. And it was more of a good take on the Captain Marvel premise of Rick Jones and Captain Marvel merging together.
But it was more like a comedy slice of life kind of book.
Yeah, and
Like this one.
but it got canceled. It wasn't selling, and Marvel was like, "Okay, we give you one more shot, Peter David. One shot, one opportunity."
Well, didn't they do some like fan vote thing?
Yes. Okay, I'm glad you brought it up because I wasn't sure if I wanted to mention it, but There's an event called. They're so mocking of Peter David. They spit in his face so much. They're like, your books are so shit. We could probably outsell them. So he had an event called You Decide. Head editors of Marvel. Bill Jemas had his own book called Marvel, which is one of the worst fucking comics I've read in my fucking life. We're gonna do eventually. He had Dad running a post, Captain Marvel, and
what
another.
was Marvel about? Just like Captain Marvel or what?
No, just to tease Marvel because we have to eventually. It starts as a parody of Smallville, parodying DC, making fun, like making really dumb jokes at DC. Bill Jemas starts like going insane halfway through it, and it becomes about like God and faith, and it's
Is that
fucking
going
insanity.
insane, or did he find his faith, Sly?
Wolverine, he makes like Wolverine like Adam and Eve, like Wolverine is Adam in the Adam and Eve scenario, like.
Yeah, finding faith doesn't mean your comic becomes about God.
It's Adam and Eve, not Wolverine Eve.
I don't know. Everyone's like religious trip is different, Phil.
That's true.
Is this also Sly? I could be wrong. I kind of remember Trouble being involved in this somehow.
Yes, Marvel. No one wanted to read on Marvel. Everyone hated Marvel. But Jemas was like, I want this idea to live on. And this inspired me to make my own label, and that label created Trouble. Trouble was part of the original label.
Yeah, so old-time fans remember Trouble from our second episode ever.
Yeah. Mark Millar writes sexy Aunt May.
Aunt May.
In this series' defense, it did beat out Marvel, but it still got canceled anyway. So poor Peter David.
But this lasted a little bit longer, right? It was like 30
No,
issues or something?
it was even
25?
less. 25 versus 35. So
Sorry,
it's 25.
sorry.
yeah, and so but Peter David, I think he gave it his all. Like if he came up with a new premise to take the series and try to give it one last ditch effort.
Yeah, this is a cool story. I think.
Definitely. It's drawn by Chris Cross, and not the 90s hip-hop duo that wore their pants on backwards, but
Yes.
some other guy.
And the
Yes.
art's good by Chris Cross. Like it's
Yeah,
really
it
good.
is
I
excellent,
like it a
yeah.
lot.
Yep.
And one thing I love, this was like a thing during this era, and it didn't always work, but I think it works here. They don't have inks; they just have colors over the pencils.
Yeah.
And I think it does a lot to make it help to like the otherworldly look to it. It makes it,
and Chris Sotomayor does the coloring, and he's one of my favorite colorists, and it's just the color like kind of makes it for me.
It's
And
Yeah.
Captain Marvel himself is so cool looking because he's got like this dark costume on, but he's like galaxy looking.
It's not just the costume. It's like his whole body becomes like a galaxy, kind of like how when you picture what's Eternity, the
Yeah.
Marvel god, where it's just like it's just a silhouette of a galaxy. It's like that's
With
what
white
Captain-
glowing eyes,
Yeah, that's
and
what
it's-
Captain
it's-
Marvel invokes.
yeah.
it's
So
really
the
cool.
the shadows of his costume they have stars in them and stuff like that.
and his chest piece and his negabands are like glowing gold. Like it's brighter than other stuff on the page always.
Yeah.
I really like the art in this.
Yeah, and so his costume is also now no longer Gambit. It's now a more of a variation on his dad's costume, except more otherworldly looking.
He got rid of the ponytail. He grew up.
Yeah. Yeah, so now it opens with Rick Jones narrating. And I should mention, Rick Jones, when he didn't merge with and go into the negative zone. He merged and goes into the microverse, which is where in Ant-Man, the movie, they talk about where you shrink so far you like
The
disappear.
quantum realm.
Yeah, where you shrink so far you disappear. That's basically where Rick Jones goes to now.
Okay.
And basically, I think it's so they can have more stuff to do for Rick Jones when
That's
he's not.
basically
exactly what
just
I was
like
thinking.
Yeah.
Uncharted alien world.
Yeah, instead of wanting to just put him in like floating forever, they're like he can go on his own adventures.
Yeah. And so the story opens with Captain Marvel getting ready to go on patrol, quote unquote. And Rick Jones is narrating, saying it's like a dream where all you want to do is try to scream and warn someone else, but you can't. And it feels like a dream. It feels like at some point you're going to wake up, but you're not. And he's like, this is how I felt the day Captain Marvel went nuts.
And just to really belabor a point from the last couple episodes, Captain Marvel has just earned cosmic awareness, something they seem to give to everybody.
Very important to note. And they treat him more like what cosmic awareness should have been in the first place, not just arbitrary.
Yeah.
The way it works here is
It's almost omniscience. Like
Yes.
it is like he knows everything that is happening in the universe, and he's trying to process it all at once.
And he can see timelines that occur. Like if he saves this woman from being shot, this will be her life in the future if he doesn't interfere with it. Like this is what will become of her.
And One thing I do really like about this book that I just want to point out is it almost feels like a direct response to all the nitpicking we've been doing for the last 2 episodes.
Yeah.
Where we're like, well, if you're switching with Rick Jones, what happens there? Or like, cosmic awareness, wouldn't it make you do this? And this book is like, yes, it would.
And that's why I really liked it. And the same reason I really like Dune is because, like, oracular powers are really cool because inevitably being able to know everything will kind of be so overwhelming that you can't.
Yeah, a human being is not like ready for this knowledge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's really cool, I think.
Yeah, so the way they describe it is like he can see the strands, and he can't see. It's hard for him to make out the entire picture, but he'll see like details, and he'll follow those details. Like there's a guy dealing drugs, and Rick Jones is like, I don't know why he's going after this one drug
I don't
dealer.
really get this, though.
It's because his cosmic awareness made him
No,
realize...
I get how he knows, but I don't get what this guy's trying to do.
That's why I like what it's doing here, because there's all these weird scenarios, and we never know what's going on with them.
Yeah,
And they're weird. They're weird enough that pique your interest. Like, what the fuck is going on here?
Yeah, because you're like
know.
a guy giving drugs to a kid. That doesn't sound weird, but the guy turns into a big red alien goblin.
Yeah.
He's like a demon.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I like Rick Jones. I like Rick Jones' narration saying, like, I like to imagine that all drug dealers are just fucking alien monsters from space, but it's more comforting to me to know that rather than humans are that evil to each other.
Mm-hmm.
So Captain Marvel gets while he finds monster, he gets another awareness of a suicide bomber in another part of the country. So he can't even ask this creature what he's doing here, dealing drugs to kids. So he just blows him up.
And Rick Jones is like, you shouldn't kill people. And I'm like, he's a fucking alien monster.
Marv, we talked about before about life being precious, and he goes, I know, so I don't see any point in having that talk again.
And he says, first of all, I'm an alien. Not only do I not share your beliefs, I don't even pretend to understand them. Second of all, considering what you people do to yourself, I don't think you understand them either.
And that's when you cut to a woman who is a suicide bomber on a bus.
Yeah, and she's looking at a woman breastfeeding a child, and the suicide bomber starts tearing up as she's looking at this, and that compels her to rip open her chest and reveal the bomb. Mm-hmm. Before she can detonate it, Captain Marvel flies in, picks her up, and puts her in the force field, and says, you can explode yourself now if you want. And all she does is scream, saying, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. And Rick Jones says, thinks to himself, narrates, I trust the irony of the moment is not lost.
Yeah. And he drops her off with the police, and right after that, the woman who was breastfeeding shoots her. And Rick Jones is like, what the fuck? Like, did you not know that was going to happen? And Marvel's like, I knew it might happen. It was one of several possibilities, but I have somewhere else to be. And Rick Jones is like, he sounds really cold, like fanatically, not like yelling and screaming, but like just so cold.
A far cry from the messing with my bajoobies guy we saw last episode.
I was like, this isn't the same character at all, but I don't care.
That was the other thing when Sly was like, he's actually my favorite character, is that looking at this here, I feel like this isn't Genis. This is like this is like a reimagining of what if Captain Marvel had a son that grew up like without the love of growing up on Earth. Like it's like Superman that just came to Earth as an adult and didn't grow up here.
It's not like the cool 90s guy who's like, hey, bajoobies.
I said that just to fuck with you guys, but Genis is one of those characters. There's a lot of characters that fall into this category. Quicksilver falls into this category. Rick Jones almost falls into this category for me. I do like Stan Lee's writing on him too. But a lot of these characters are Peter David only characters. I only like him when Peter David writes them.
Yeah.
Like Peter David is so good. He'll basically make new characters out of shit characters. Like this is a new character pretty much. But I like it so much, and no other writer picks up on this interpretation ever, but I like this interpretation so much that it makes me like appreciate even the shitty interpretations, I guess. I don't know.
I know exactly what you mean. You guys remember when we did Death of Superman and the Kryptonite Kid with his leather jacket and earrings?
Yeah.
The new Superboy? Peter David is the one who puts him on Young Justice.
Oh, yeah.
And makes him so good.
Peter David made Superboy and Jackass too.
Yeah. He's good at this.
Yeah. And he does a lot of 90s characters. He always gets stuck with these 90s characters no one else wants to write, so he always fixes 90s shitty characters too.
Yeah.
So the next thing I think Captain Marvel flies off to is an alien dying on this destroyed planet.
It's like a battlefield. Like this soldier is dying. And he's like, I wish I could see my mom. And he's like, I'll take you home. And he kills him. And Rick Jones is like, why this of all the things?
He doesn't kill him. He just like
he dies in his arms. He dies in his arms.
Yeah, and Rick Jones is like, why this of all things? He's like, I don't know. It's just like it's cosmic awareness. You're just not sure. It's just the universe was telling me I had to be here in this moment to help him.
And that's what he says. I don't know, okay? How many times? How many ways do you want me to say it? I just had to be here, and I don't know why. I just have to trust there's a reason to all this, right? All right? So that he's so pissed off. He's like,
what do you want from me, Rick? Huh? My blood? My life? My soul? Well, what the hell do you want from me? And he's like, I'm sorry.
Just drop it. He's like, I can't drop it. Don't you get it? The universe is twisting and folding endlessly back on itself, and all these things are possible. It's this gargantuan tapestry. I can see all the threads, and every thread I can pull on, I can see all the ways it affects other threads onto infinity. And he gets real quiet all of a sudden. Saying it's just a tool, Rick. Like, don't worry. I got control of it. Don't worry.
And then we see such a cool half a page where when Genis goes quiet, we see both of his eyes, like a close up of his eyes, reflecting a different scene of what he's seeing. And one is an alien invasion from the Badoon, and they're invading a farming world and killing thousands of people. And in the other eye, we see a young girl who's about to be beaten to death by her angry boyfriend.
Yeah.
And he sees both of these possibilities.
Young alien girl.
Yeah, it's like a orange-skinned alien girl, and the Badoon are like these reptilian monsters.
Yeah. And so Rick Jones narrates, and in the meantime, here's Marv, unable to be in two places and hauling a corpse for good measure. And he whispers, I'm sorry, though I'm not sure who he's apologizing to. Maybe the girl, maybe the corpse, maybe both. And he drops the corpse and runs to the Badoon invasion.
Yeah. And so he goes and fights off the Badoon. And Rick Jones says, I never knew why Badoon were attacking. I don't know anything more about the story. All I know is they were attacking. Captain Marvel fought them off. That's all I knew about the situation. And while Captain Marvel was fighting all these creatures, he's saying, I'm sorry.
Yeah, he's watching the girl get beaten to death while because he can't not see it. So he's seeing that happen as he destroys all these alien warships. And
as her life, she bleeds to death and life fades from her eyes. He says, oh my God, what have I done? And Rick Jones narrates, and it all spills out of him. It's all presents itself to him. All the threads of tapestry intertwining one another. This alien girl, the one he didn't save, when she reached adulthood, had she lived, that is, to reach adulthood, her rough child, her own brushes of death, would have forged her into the greatest peacemaker in the history of the known galaxy. Through sheer force of will, charisma, compassion, she would have been allied to all races. Ancient enmities would have been set aside. No era of galactic tolerance and worship of peace would have been born. So unlikely would such a time of harmony have been that it would literally have been dubbed the Age of Miracles. She was the most special female of our age, perhaps of any age. Many would claim that her birth was divinely inspired, although she will always deny it. And Captain Marvel is just thinking about this and think about it's all his fault. And as he's wrapping his mind around this, he's going through other images that's happening at the same time about a traffic accident about to claim the life of a little boy. But if he doesn't die, he becomes a mass murderer. And Badoon are regrouping. And as all these things are running through his head, his eyes go cross-eyed. Rick Jones says he screams his name, but he doesn't hear him. And Rick Jones narrates as Captain Marvel passes out, starts falling towards a planet, and as Captain Marvel's falling towards the planet, and the alien is still floating in space endlessly. Rick Jones narrates, I know one phrase in Latin, exactly one. I don't know why I remember it. The nuns in the orphanage taught it to us as part of class in ancient history. It goes, quem Deus vult... I'm not going to say it, fuck it.
Per de denuntis prius.
Whom the gods wish to ruin, they first drive mad. And as I shout at Marv in impotent desperation, I keep thinking that Marv got cosmic awareness exactly wrong. It's not that you see the entirety of all creation. It's that the entirety of creation sees you. And if for some reason it doesn't like what it sees, then God help you. Unless, of course, he's busy driving you mad, in which case, you're on your own.
And it does like a comparison between like him crash down in like after Captain Marvel fell down onto the earth, and it flashes over to the corpse that's floating in space they let go.
Yeah, in the same position.
Yeah, so that's the first issue, and after that I was like, okay, I am on board with the direction you're taking Captain Marvel, because at first I thought we were just going to read like more superhero stories, and it was going to be a lot more like, you have to go stop this Kree skull whatever thing. Instead it's like, hey, actually like cosmic awareness drives you mad. And I'm like, yeah, I'm interested in this.
Yeah, how do you make a super powered character interesting? You talk about the fucked up part about being super powered. Like same thing. That's one of the same reasons Dr. Manhattan was interesting in Watchmen is not that he's like fighting well.
Yeah, so I was like, oh, he's so powerful. Look at him fight
obviously
aliens.
He is.
Yeah. So the next issue opens with Rick Jones climbing a snowy mountain. Climbing his mountain, he meets like a giant woolly mammoth looking.
It's basically like that same like he has to go on a quest to find someone who can help him, so he climbs. He's in the microverse
mountain. And he's like, I'm stuck because Marv is just catatonic in a coma or something on this world, and I need to get out of the microverse.
So he goes to the only person you go to in a situation like this, Shingadoon.
Yeah, this woolly mammoth looking guy on legs. And Shingadoon takes him to his cave, and Rick Jones recounts what happened and what happened since we left the story, because there was like a time gap.
It's like a month or 3 months.
Yeah. And he says he was screaming at Marv
for like the whole time, for like weeks.
Yeah, it's like, please get up. I yelled, pleaded, cursed, stopped, everything. And the thing that made him snap out of it was, what will your father say if you saw me like this? And that made Captain Marvel get up and say, discipline, and just fly off.
Yeah, discipline. And he just flies off.
And to show how and he said, Rick Jones says, that's when it gets weird. And to show how weird it gets, we cut to the Punisher going after a mob boss.
Yeah, this was weird.
Not a mob boss, hitman. So this hitman takes a hostage, and Punisher is like, you're not getting out of here, so we let him go. And the hostage is like, please, guys, please don't kill me, man. And that's when Captain Marvel comes in. He starts talking random nonsense.
And this starts where it's like, this is, I think, almost like my complaint with this, because the premise is that Captain Marvel goes mad in this series. But by mad, it's like, it's tough because it's still like very Marvel-y in that, like, when he appears, they're like, what are you, like, nuts for appearing here? And he's like, if you mean in the hard-shelled dried fruit sense, or in the device used to tighten a screw sense, no, I'm not.
But you mean in the sense of insane, mad, crazy? I believe I am, yes.
This is where I was like, he's almost like Jenna's here a little.
There's like the traces of it. There's like, I'm trying to be cool crazy, but there's like crazy, like I'm being goofy crazy here too.
That's what I'm saying. Like, his personality becomes a lot more like sarcastic in like after
he becomes basically nihilistic.
Yeah, he doesn't give a shit about anything anymore. Like now, this is like he lost complete touch of reality, and everything's like a joke to him now. Like,
and when he goes to people now, he covers them in that galaxy silhouette.
And that's I think the artistic effect that he uses when he's using his cosmic awareness to see their entire lives.
No, he lets them see their lives. Like his cosmic awareness can stretch over to them, and he's like, "Hey, look at this."
Yeah.
Okay.
So now he's just walking over.
This was a really interesting twist because when this scene started, I was like, okay, what is this? Why is he with the Punisher?
And this is what I love about the series. Like, every scene, you don't know what's going to happen next. That's why I fucking love about it. So he walks over to Captain Marvel walks over to the hostage situation.
Yeah, and he walks up to the hostage specifically.
Yeah.
And he scans the hostage saying, oh, you murdered your baby sister in the crib when you're 5.
You're a rapist.
14 years old.
You were thinking about raping someone else.
Yeah, you love killing your sister so much, it made you want to seek that thrill again. You're a monster. And he says, tell the truth, this is who you are. Lie to me and I'll kill you. And the hostage says, yeah, it's true, I'm sorry. And Captain Marvel says, good, the truth will set you free. And he explodes the fucking hostage.
I was like, good.
And the Punisher's like, oh, what?
Yeah.
And the Punisher tries to like shoot the guy, but Captain Marvel lets him live, and he's like, no.
They're like, hitman. And he's like, yeah, you have to let him live.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Punisher's like, are you insane? And Captain Marvel's like, yes, we covered it, I'm insane, but I want you to help, I want to learn from you. And Captain Marvel, and Punisher's like, what? And so it cuts back to Rick, who's continuing the story.
It's just some microverse stuff where he's like, I went to the Galaxy Hub, and then I came to you, and then someone blah, blah, blah.
The one thing that really sticks out for this part is when he's just, like, recapping this to the woolly mammoth guy, he's like, well, the part is I can see, the link that I could see through is still intact. I see the world through Marv's eyes. Used to be we'd talk to each other, talk up a storm, but now I'm doing all the talking, and I've got no idea if he's listening or if he even hears me. And he's like, oh, not unlike God? And he says, yeah, not un. And that's just the first theme that it's like, oh, Rick Jones is just, like, he's kind of, like...
praying. He's praying to
he's basically praying.
Yelling at God, stop killing everyone! And God's like, I don't care.
So Janice trains with the Punisher. Really, all he does is go through his books and reads all the information he has on his war journals to try to learn about his discipline. And because like Punisher's like always been the series, like he's been inhumanly disciplined to the point that he's contributing to his own personal war on crime for decades on end, all by himself, like any help from anyone else. And so Janice wants that discipline, which is another reason why I like this, because it reminds me a lot of Punisher 2099, where you have a crazy guy trying to emulate Frank Castle.
Yeah, I see the comparison.
Yes.
A man that's driven to the edge of insanity. He's like, you know what? I just need to find a way to weaponize this.
Yeah. Driven to the edge of insanity and trying to use discipline to bring sanity back to what he sees to be an insane world. In return for letting him read his books, Janice takes Frank over to...
Well, he tells him who the guy Frank was chasing before, who his employer was. Yeah. And he's like, but you can't kill the guy you were after earlier. You can't kill the employee because 2 weeks from now, he'll be arrested. He'll be sent to jail. He'll find God. He'll become a jailhouse preacher. He will single-handedly lower the recidivist rate of the prison population that he's in. 20 years later, he'll live a life as a preacher and then die in a hit and run at age 73. Don't kill him because even though he's a bad guy, from this moment on, he will be doing good in the world. And this is a really interesting argument of like, he can be rehabilitated, so the Punisher is wrong to kill him.
Yeah. And Punisher's like, fine. Oh, he says fine because Captain Marvel says, I'll blow you up if you try to.
Yeah. He even says Punisher tried to shoot him, and Captain Marvel said, stop that.
Yeah.
Like, he is God tier, like, power.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's cosmic tier.
Yeah.
So they go to where the guy who hired the hitman.
This scene is something.
Yeah, so it looks like the guy is like this rich guy in wealthy mansion. A bunch of kids are trick-or-treating in his house. He looks like the toy collector from fucking Toy Story 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Punisher knocks on his door with Captain Marvel. Captain Marvel gives the mob boss a cosmic awareness, and the guy starts freaking out. He runs towards his kid and goes to kill his kid.
With a gun. He pulls out a gun to point it at his kid, like screaming.
His kid's wearing a little skeleton costume, and he's saying, "Daddy, do you like my costume?" His dad just still a gun screaming, and Punisher just shoots the dad in the fucking chest.
It's also crazy when he gives people the cosmic awareness, their eyes and the mouth are still visible, but the rest of them is like galaxy. Yeah. And like they look crazy. They start like, it's like this is what the cosmic awareness does to you when you see the universe in the future line.
Yeah, Punisher goes to the kid saying, "I have no choice, kid. You have to see it. That he's gonna kill you." Like, and then Captain Marvel says, "Like, no, Frank. He doesn't see it, but his dad saw. His dad saw what his son's gonna grow into, and I'll show you because I promise you, I'll give you some cosmic awareness. I'll give it to you." So he gives Frank cosmic awareness, and we don't get to see how this scene resolves.
I really like the way they do this.
Yes, we only see Rick's word for it. Rick says the Shingo. He's Shingo Doom. Shingo Doom's like, "So what happens next?" And Rick Jones says, Frank saw the kid all grown up, killing him real slow. Frank's castle saw his own death swaps and vengeance." And so Shingo Doom's like, "How do you take it?" And Rick says, "Oh, he started crying and he broke down. And he started begging this 8-year-old kid not to kill him. Not his finest moment." And Shingo Doom's like, "Why do I doubt that's what Frank Castle did? Like, the way you talk about this Punisher, the way you describe him, this doesn't make something to do." And Rick Jones like, "I would not go with the mindset you're going right now. I would not conclude that this is how you're concluding right now, because I prefer the story the way I ended it." And Shingo Doom's like, "Okay, let's leave it at that."
And I like that because it's what it does is if you're a Punisher fan and you don't want him like murdering kids, it like leaves it open-ended, but like we all know he killed that kid.
It's one of those things where it's always a lot more like tactful if you're going to portray something really horrific, if you insinuate that happened, rather than like, watch Punisher, like the Millar approach, watch him blow out the kid's brains. It's like, oh, skull. Edgy. Yeah. Instead you're like, oh damn, like he killed this kid because this kid was going to kill him.
Yeah.
And then the scene is interrupted rather abruptly.
Shingo Doom's like, I know solution to your problem. Here's what you need to do, Rick. You can fucking squash immediately. And Rick's like, what the fuck? Just squashed him. And there's like the fucking like mountain comes alive, like eyes form on the mountain.
Yeah.
And it says, no one can save you, Rick. No one can save Captain Marvel. His face healed. And Rick's like, who are you? And the cosmic entity, whoever's talking to him, says, I am no one. To be continued.
And, like, I think you're totally right, though. Like, the thing that makes this book so good is just, like, every twist. Like, every scene ends very unexpected. Like, I didn't expect the Punisher to kill a kid, and I didn't expect this wise guy, like, this wise, like, ancient one. Yeah, this
wise guy. Hey, you wise guy, eh?
Yeah, this ancient, all-powerful guy, just to be there for Rick to exposit to and then die.
Yeah, it's definitely, like, captivating in a way where it's like when we were reading all the Captain Marvel stuff before, you're like when Monica was gonna blow up, you're like, she's not gonna blow up. Whereas here, you're like, what is Captain Marvel building to? What is this mountain that's talking to Rick? Like, there seems to be answers somewhere, and you just can't fathom them.
Yeah.
So the next issue opens, and this time we jump all the way over to the Kree, and it's like a Kree general, and they're talking about invading some planet that's close to the Skrulls. Like it's a strategic location in the war.
Yeah. They become like super like British imperialists, like the way they talk and everything. They're like, these primitives need our leadership.
They talk about how they're a fierce race. Sharp like instincts, comparative weapon in comparison to ours, but they wear garrison and quite aggressive.
Yep, so they go down there, and all they can find is, like, one of them that's left. Like, all their places are empty, and there's one person left alive. And the person just, like, looks up at them when they bring them to the captain and goes, he looks at us, and and he knows. And he starts throwing off people and like trying to like run away and panic.
He like holds on to them. He's like, please help.
Yeah, conquer us if you wish. We have no objection, none. Please just save us from this fucking. Save us from him. Save us from him.
Yep, and then we cut back to like Rick's been waiting for a long time inside the prison, and then some like.
He's in the cave where he met Shingadun and he can't leave. Because every time he tries to leave, there's like an avalanche.
Yeah, and some hot orange-haired chick just
Orange-haired. She's holding a chair.
shows up, an alien lady, and she's like,
She looks like Mystique. She looks like Mystique, kind of.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
she definitely looks like Mystique.
And she's like, hey, is Shingadun here? And he's like, he's here, but I've been like eating him to stay alive.
Like she asked him, like, I'm here to meet somebody, and then she's like, there's something to eat, and he says, like, answer your second question the same as the first. Shingadun.
Yeah, the writing is great.
Yeah.
Like, that's why we keep reading from this directly where we don't for a lot of comics, because the writing is really good.
Yeah.
They go back to back to the planet of the Kree. Mm-hmm. They talk about who conquered this planet, and you can tell it's Captain Marvel.
Yeah, and so they go there, and Captain Marvel's like, it shows him inside of the temple with all these other aliens, and they're like, go ahead and like.
Before you mention that, I just want to mention another line I really like. Mm-hmm. The Kree general's like, mount up, men. Let's find whoever or whatever did this, and do it to them. No one should be allowed to exploit these people, at least not until we've exploited them first.
Yeah. I think like that kind of like dialogue actually helps you understand like a really warlike race a lot when they're like, no one should be allowed to do terrible things but us because we're like the privileged ones that
and we're gonna lead them to we're the white man's burden.
Yeah.
The blue man's burden.
Yeah, it's funny because like the white Kree are the underclassmen, whatever.
Yeah, of course. White men are the truly underprivileged race in society.
What's this associate we all shit? Did they get this from Battlestar?
No. So I wonder if that's from because Peter David does write Battlestar comics. I wonder if that's from the '70s show. It might be from the '70s.
That's
show.
interesting.
Huh. Yeah.
Because when was this written? 2002.
This was so. It's funny because the Captain Marvel number 5, he is a Battlestar ripoff. There's a scene where it's basically they're in the fracking ship. It is pretty much that fucking scene.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
That's funny.
But that's later. But I think this was before the reboot.
It is. About the reboot started in 2003, I think, and this is 2002.
Yeah.
So a bunch of the Kree like rush in to fight off against them, and all the people like of the red people that are native to the planet, they all start running away, and they're like, he calls himself like he says he's a ruler now. He calls himself Captain Marvel, and there's this green general guy that's like, now there's like a name that I haven't recognized in a long time.
Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time.
And during this, Rick Jones does hear Marv talk to him for the first time.
Yeah, Captain Marvel turns to the camera and says, "What a great bunch they are, aren't they, Rick?" And Rick freaks out, saying, "Marv, you gotta listen to me!" And then as he's so excited, he hits his head on the rock and knocks himself out.
Yeah.
The important thing is that the aliens come to more like save us from him, save us from Captain Marvel. Epiphany talks with Jones, asking like, "Tell me about."
So Epiphany, we didn't say that's the name of the red-haired lady.
Yeah,
we don't know that yet.
We find eventually. Mystique,
it doesn't really matter if we know it or not right now.
No, I think it's cool when they revel it. She says Epiphany, and I'm like, hey, it's an Epiphany.
Yeah, we spoiled the twist, but it's important that her name's Epiphany. Epiphany asks him about the situation while this is happening. They meet Captain Marvel in like this church place. The Kree meet Captain Marvel's church place.
Such cool art.
Yeah, and it's like a whole like divine.
It's lit up like the otherworldly like temple.
Yeah, crepuscular rays, like the light shining through the windows, and then the green general of the Kree is talking. There's a general and
Captain and general basically.
Yeah,
this captain's talking to him.
And this captain's like, "Hey, did you know that I trained Captain Marvel? I taught him everything."
Yeah, your dad.
Yeah, and then he's like, "Oh, I guess that makes me your grandson."
Then he's like, I want you to appreciate something. I did not kill any of the people on this planet. They killed themselves. I had a force field up, and they shot themselves. And it's very important that you understand this. And the Kree's like, why is it important that I understand that? So when I kill you, you don't understand how important that is. I killed you, and he fucking just puts his fist right through the captain's chest.
Yeah, it's again like all these issues like end with just like at the end of every issue I'm like, holy shit.
And he's like, it's your fault because you trained my dad, and then my dad died fighting Nitro, and so you didn't train him well enough.
You didn't train him well enough. His mom became lonely because he died. Then I got made because my mom was so fucking lonely, and now I have to exist.
Because I exist, I had to go insane knowing the universe. So this is all your fault.
Yeah, and then he rips out his guts, and it causes Marv to throw up as he sees this.
Rick Jones.
Rick Jones, Marv. Yeah. And then Marv basically like absorbs his outfit, and he attaches like the green like shoulder pads and the planet symbol on his chest. It looks a lot more closer to Captain Marvel's like original
costume.
Yeah.
But it actually looks good.
That's what I'm saying. They took that costume and made it actually good. Like the Saturn symbol is actually more of it's a circle.
It's like
it
a band around his chest.
Chest, like he's wearing a
It's
weapon.
really cool.
It's like more of a coincidental thing than I'm carrying a fucking Saturn logo.
Yeah, and instead of like just white across him, it's the cosmic
stars, cosmic
space.
Stars.
On his body.
And he turns to the colonel and he's like, I need discipline and I want to join your army.
Yeah, my
So
dad
what do you
was a
think?"
Kree officer, so I guess I should be a Kree officer too.
Yep.
And so then the next issue opens with cuckolding, which I was like, oh, okay.
That's what I love about this, because it teases Mark Millar stuff so many times, but it never goes full Mark Millar.
Yeah.
It teases it, but it opens up with him. Marv is banging another guy's wife.
It's the colonel that he's under the service of now. He just starts by like banging his wife.
It's his mistress. It's
his mistress. And while he's doing this, Rick Jones is playing with guitar. It's about how great play guitar is. It's the feel of it, you know, the curvedness, the suppleness, the firmness, and he's just talking about.
Okay, but then it gets a little less subtle, and it's just like, and you know, you got to be good at fingering.
Yeah,
Okay.
the fingering has to be just right.
And that's what I love about this, because his whole intro seems like it's becoming Mark Millar now. And like he goes to the after he fucks the girl real good, he goes to the guy and he's like, "I fucked your wife." And none that I fuck her. I fucked her so good, you'll never be able to fuck her as good. She'll kill herself after I stop fucking her.
Not only will you not be able to, no one can, because I fucked her and I have cosmic awareness.
Yeah.
So, like, I know exactly the right thing to do. So, I can kill her if you want, just to spare her that.
Yeah, and this is where you're like, he apes off of like Mark Millar, he never goes full Mark Millar. I'm pretty sure I fucked her so good, no one will be able to have sex with her again without her being like disappointed. It's like,
And that knowledge will eventually destroy her.
Yeah.
While this is happening, Rick Jones is playing guitar because of Epiphany, the character. He started becoming really good at music, and he managed to go back with Epiphany. He was able to climb down the mountain, start a rock career, and now he
becomes like a alien rock star, and he has three boobed ladies.
Yeah, there is another 3-boobed lady, but she's like the ultimate muse. That just being around her makes people just like really creative and great.
Yeah. And now that relationship together too.
And then we have like a really weird mirror of like Captain Marvel in like his Marvel suit, and as he's talking to the lady, and basically the colonel's sending him on a suicide mission against the Shi'ar. And it's like, again, it's mirroring perfectly how his dad, like how he first came, because he's talking to the mistress and he kisses her.
Yes.
And she's like, I don't want you to die. And he's like, you're pregnant.
Yeah. And then she's like, how do you know? He's like, I know. And he just flies off.
Yeah.
And she's like, he probably knows that. He probably knows that I'm a Shi'ar spy. She calls Shi'ar saying, hey, he probably knows you're coming.
So she's not just... I mean, I'm not exactly 100% on board with this character's portrayal, but she's more than just like this mistress that's there for a vehicle of cuckolding. She's a spy.
She's a spy, yeah.
They reveal Genesis as Cal Stewart as he makes it seem later on very clearly.
And then it cuts back to like Rick waking up, and he's in like Epiphany's room.
In their bed because they did it.
Yeah,
but he doesn't remember that though.
Yeah, but and then hears a voice. And he finds out he hears a voice in that room, and he's like, "That's the voice of no one." Epiphany,
it's the mountain that was killing or locked him in prison. And then he runs over and he wraps the sheets around his waist. He runs to the bathroom and he sees this like glowing outline of a guy with like, it looks like crazy hair, and he's wearing a bath towel too, or like
he looks like
sheet.
Eternity.
Yeah, it looks like Eternity.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then you see this giant fucking Shi'ar like armada, and you're like, how can anyone fight this? And he's just like,
no, they cut back to Captain Marvel, then they see Shi'ar armada.
Right.
Yeah.
And they're like, you know, is it possible that this guy is so strong that we can't detect him at all? Because if he's capable of manipulating like space time, like maybe he could be like right here.
Yeah.
And that he's like, hey,
Tupper's behind him saying, yes, it certainly provides food for thought. And they all start shooting at him, and he just makes a shield again. They start killing themselves again.
And he tells this whole story from the Bible about like Uriah,
about the guy who
King David. Yeah, the guy.
Yeah, King David wanted to bang Bathsheba, so he sent her husband into battle to die, and then he did die, and then he's like, got him, and now he was able to have kids with her because they were trying to cover up this pregnancy.
Again, drawing more parallels between like religious
him and
basis
him and God.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so when he goes back, he goes to the general. General's like, your mistress was a Shi'ar spy. She was doing you just to get more information because you were the new hot commodity now.
And then he's like,
so
I want
weird.
you to shoot her to prove that you're like loyalty to me and everything.
Because Captain Marvel had to know that she was a spy with his cosmic awareness.
And because he doesn't kill the Shi'ar when he's there.
Oh, yeah,
like
true, yeah.
he flies away and says, "Tell your princess I send my love."
Yeah.
And not in like that much, like he doesn't say love and fly away, but he's like the Kree is like, what, like why, what did you, what? And he's
the Shi'ar is like that. And then,
Yeah.
and then he goes back and the colonel tells him, hey, you execute her with 3 bullets, 1 for her head and 2 for each of her hearts. And then he takes the gun and he puts 3 bullets in the guards and the colonel.
And then he says, the woman's surprised, and he says, "This is unfortunate. This is being a direct order is an offense demanding the most severe punishment available. Oh, well, thank God it's over." He puts the gun to his head and shoots himself.
Yeah, and you're like,
I was like, what?
yeah.
Because he's trying to learn discipline, and he's like, yeah, the penalty for treason is death, and he's like, I am a traitor. He shoots himself.
Yeah. And that's what I like, because it shows that he cared about the woman enough to save her, and he killed himself because he's so fucking crazy that he betrays discipline.
Yep. And so we get to the near the end of this arc now, where we have his grave, which says, "Here lies Genus, Captain Marvel, friend, hero, traitor. He tried his best."
And while we kept cutting to that, and like Rick Jones' lifeless eyes staring into the void, basically.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And then the grave explodes, and Captain Marvel crawls out of it and says,
Well, actually,
this is
one
annoying."
effect I just want to point out about Rick
James.
Rick Jones staring into the void. His eyes are completely black, like his pupils are black. And then there's a light, and then we see the Captain Marvel logo in his eye, and then there's a brighter light, and that's when he breaks out of the...
Yeah,
the-
Captain Marvel breaks out of the grave.
Yeah.
Yep. And so Rick Jones wakes up and is like, what the hell? And Epiphany's there, and she's like, hey, you've been sleeping for like a month. And Rick Jones is like, but Marv shot himself. He should be dead, but he's not. And he's like, what's going on? And, oh yeah, and then Epiphany does say that, hey, that starry guy... that's my brother.
And she's like, who's your brother? And Rick's like, who's your brother, God? And he's like, no, and yes.
Yeah.
She says that he always appears as like a reflection of yourself so your mind can comprehend it, which is something that we've talked about when we talk about eternity. Every episode we talk about eternity.
Yeah. And so we cut to this gravesite, and Genus in his Kree battle outfit is back alive, and he turns around, and the original Captain Marvel's there, his dad.
Yeah.
And he's like, how's death, Dad? And Dad's like, not what I expected.
He says a lot of like Jim Starlin philosophical stuff.
Right.
Marvel has this very smug face, like, I'm going to give you some inspiring quotes, Sly.
Dad?
Yeah, I identify with Jennifer Bell. Got it. You got it.
It's a very Freudian slip here.
And I imagine that fucking Marvel looks like Ryan here. His fucking smug face right here. I'm going to say something inspiring, and you and me, we're energy, Janice.
Yeah, people shouldn't fear death. Energy can't be destroyed. It's a passing of life. To die is simply to experience energy becoming another form.
And they're just like, you know what? Fuck you, Dad. Just beats shit out of him, saying, "I'm sorry. Were you saying something?" And he's just, I don't think I
It's
understand
really weird
that.
because he's like, they're both dead, and they're both energy ghosts, and he's like, you can't shoot me. We're both energy, and he just beats him though. And
Yeah, I don't care. He's like, I don't care. All I care is I spend the majority of my life trying to live up to your memory ideals. You became
And
an
you were
icon.
watching.
Yeah.
You know, so you're like, what?
In a
Cosmic
cosmically
masturbation.
masturbatory sort of way.
Yeah, and all along you knew the truth of it. That ended up short because I could never be you and I had no clue who I was. Like watching a rat in a maze with all the exits sealed. The question isn't whether he'll get out. The question is how crazy will he go trying to get out.
And so he's beating the shit out of his dad's best. He's like,
and like Marvel is like, I don't want to hurt you, and he goes, oh good, and just keeps beating him. And like,
And Rick Jones is like, I thought I knew Rage. I mean, I've hung out with the Hulk, but I've never seen anything like what Marv does to his father ever.
it's such a great, like, unexpected subversion because, like, this character who's trying to live up to his dad's legacy, Rick says that, like, his whole motivation is to, like, you know, win his dad's approval, and then he goes crazy and then dies and meets his dad, and you expect, like, oh, this is when the hero finds out he was good enough all along, and no, he just beats the shit out of his dad.
There's a lot of, like, Oedipal stuff, like killing dad.
Yeah.
Like, in this issue and the next one.
Yeah, he wraps it up by fucking tossing his own tombstone on
his dad's tombstone on top of him, I think.
I'm like, how does that work? He's a ghost, but he splats.
Well, the thing is, like, Jen's asked, like, too, like, how does this all work? And, like, they never really explain it, but it's supposed to be, like, kind of ambiguous.
And, like, I feel like that's been enough of a theme of the whole book where it's, like, it's cosmically aware. It's just, like, it's working, I guess.
And because they're both energy beings, you can just imagine one just energy destroying the other. Like, it doesn't have to literally be a grave killing him.
It's like we saw in the Death of Captain Marvel, where it was like Thanos and Marvel were fighting, but like not really.
Yeah, not really.
And so while this is happening, Rick is like saying, "I've lost him. He's beyond the pale. I have to kill him. I have to find a way to kill him now." Captain Marvel basically emits like a galaxy-piercing scream. His face...
This is great. This
the full page spread of him screaming, but it's like a
There's screaming
myriad
faces,
of mouths and eyes and crazy.
His eyes are spirals.
Yeah.
He's got drool in his mouth, and there's just these faces on his face, his neck, his costume are all screaming. And he like Rick Jones says, he has other needs now. He just doesn't know what they are. And when, not if, but when he finds them, every living thing will pay for it. See, it's starting already, and this is the page of the screaming. They hear his scream everywhere. It's a primal scream. Happens every now and then when a truly cosmic being gets his knickers in a twist. It killed dinosaurs, it made humanity afraid of the dark, and annihilated half of Europe in the guise of the Black Plague. Cuts to the core of everything that is and was and will be. How do I know? Because I do, and so does he. And he just emits this scream, falls to the ground, and then no one, or whatever his name was, the brother of Epiphany, is standing over him and says, "Let's go for a walk."
And this time he's wearing like a cosmic, like a Captain Marvel outfit.
Captain Marvel's suit. He's wearing Captain Marvel's costume.
And he's like, "Do you know who I am?" And he's like, "I don't know who you are." So, and then he's like, "Yeah, so I must be beyond the cosmos."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Did you make me insane?" And this being is like, "Yes. Does that upset you?" And Captain Marvel's like, "Not really. I'm just like, my mind is on permanent vacation."
Yeah, but without having to worry how much to tip the help.
Yeah. And so basically, now this being takes him on a trip of, this is what I meant, the edible thing. He takes him on a trip of a bunch of fucked up son-dad relationships.
Yeah.
Where he first sees this kid who made a thing for his dad,
The
but
clay
messed up the
ashtray
carpet.
for his father, but the clay.
He's trying to make his dad
carpet.
happy. He's trying to make his dad happy, making a little clay thing.
Yeah.
Dad wants to beat him now.
Yeah, it's like a 5-year-old kid making a clay ashtray. He spills the clay on the carpet, and that's just beating a fucking newspaper.
And then the next one is a kid dropping the football and losing the game, which his dad bet on, so he's going to blame the son. The next is a son taking on his dad's business and failing and running it into the ground, and the dad yelling at him.
And this is my favorite part because this shows how relevant the story is. It's the White House, and he basically says this guy was trying to live up to his own dad, and this is why I find this story so interesting because
I didn't notice that was the White House.
Yeah, it's George Bush.
Yeah, they never say it's George Bush, but they say this guy's trying to live up to his dad, but he's trying to make it do a
he's
better
walking
job.
across the National Mall. I didn't catch that.
Yeah, and nor did I. Wow.
The thing I love about this whole book touches about the idea of the failed son.
Yeah.
Trump was a failed son. George W. Bush was a failed son.
I am the failed son.
Yeah, we are all the failed sons.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's like it's not just the failed son thing. It's like everyone has this thing where it's like you want to either make your dad like proud, or you have to say "fuck you, dad" and kill your dad.
Yeah, that's what he talks about. He says like lions have it simple. You have to admire animals for their purity. An alpha lion kills his rival, and now he devours the offspring of his rival. No false stepfather bonding allowed in the Veld. In order to grow, some must reject his father sooner or later, or the father faces rejection or disappointment in his offspring, rejects his son. Sometimes they reconnect later on, but the wound runs deep and poison flows from it.
And he says this is a universal constant, and he's like, why? And he's like, because my father rejected me. This is the cosmic being saying this.
And that's like how he says, and from it flows the fundamental chaos and disorder he finds so appalling. And I fucking love that line because I feel like a lot of humanity's flaws are like little boys trying to make their dad happy.
It's the sins passed down from the parents.
Yeah. And he says, so my father rejected me. And he goes, and who would he be, the father? And he says, I thought you'd never ask. This is him, or rather a representation of him. His name is Eternity.
Yeah.
And so he's like, so if Eternity is your dad, you are... And he says, entropy, the things that fall apart, the center that cannot hold. I'm like, why is he quoting English literature? Okay. Entropy, the undoer am I, at your service. Or I at yours. Just so.
Phil, I would just like to say maybe English literature is quoting him.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, fuck, you're right.
So he says, like, a universe will eventually end, but I tire of it eventually. I put it and myself out of misery now.
I could use your help ending the universe. And Janice takes the bloody gun that he beat his dad to death with, and he goes, "It's about bloody time."
Yeah.
And this is where this issue is like the weirdest of them all. It starts out with they already entered the universe.
That's what I love about this. I love that. I fucking love You think it's going to set up for a grand final issue? No, it's already over.
They killed Eternity. The universe ended.
Wait, was there any actual event before hearing? Because that's what I just assumed is there was some event.
No, that's what I love about it. They just call the bullshit. They make you think it's gonna be an event. No, there isn't. Everyone's dead already. They fucking killed the universe.
Not just dead. It's like they're just floating in this white void.
No, but everyone else is dead. Everyone in the universe is dead except for Epiphany, Entropy, Rick Jones, and Genis.
Yeah, and he kept Rick Jones alive because he's like, I want you to watch.
Yeah.
And he's like, wow, look at this peaceful universe. Everything is gone.
It's not blank. Every page has just a watercolor spray on it.
Yeah.
If you took like a brush and you just swirled it around a couple times, that's what it looks like.
Which I liked a lot too. It's like an artist canvas that's like not formed.
Yeah, it's a really great effect.
The art is so fucking good. I really like this.
Yeah, I just want to point out some really great lines. So Rick Jones is sulking because he failed to save the universe, and Genesis is like, "Come on, Rick, you shouldn't be sad. I mean, think of all the times you saved the universe before. Just because you failed spectacularly this go around doesn't invalidate all your previous efforts." I find that so fucking funny. Like, oh, you've seen it 3 times. You can't feel bad if you failed to save it once. Come on, like 40 times saving it. Rick just says like, Rick Jones like, "Go away." Rick Jones is like, "Go away." He's like, "Fuck off."
Yeah, and he screamed when Rick Jones screams at him. He actually can make Captain Marvel like rear back in pain because they have that psychic link.
No, because he actually off panel when he was thinking about a way to kill him, he mentions like Rick Jones developed a way to use a psychic link to basically psychically attack Genis.
Mm-hmm. And so he's like, the whole time you were doing that. And it did slow me down, but, it didn't stop me.
Epiphany is like, you shouldn't have done that. You know what it does to you? And he goes, I had to do something. And he's like, well, that's just so you, isn't it, Rick? Had to do something.
Jen says that.
Yeah.
Like, Rick Jones is like, I spoke to you months and you didn't reply. You're supposed to know everything, but you don't give a damn about anything. You destroy life in a whim. Yet I'm supposed to believe you care? What kind of sick bastard are you? And then he says, I believe the technical term is God. And I'm like, he basically is. He basically is a God.
Yeah.
He starts talking to Entropy, and Entropy's kind of like bummed out. He's like, yeah, like, is this it? Like,
yeah.
Is there like nothing? And he's like, but, you killed your dad. Like, that's pretty good.
And Rick Jones is like, what do you expect to happen at the end of everything? Different Strokes reruns?
Yeah.
And Captain Marvel's like, Entropy is just everything degrading to an inert uniformity, and we're there now. And he's like, you must have had the weight of existence, the collective Empyrean howling of all living things, was as much a raging cacophony in your essence as it was in mine. And now we have peace, quiet, and serenity. So what's the problem? And Epiphany's like, yeah, like, this sucks now to have literally nothing at the end.
Yeah.
I have everything and nothing, and I'm just sitting here in this paradox not knowing what to do. And Rick Jones is like, you could create something.
I love this, because then Legacy is like, or Captain Marvel is like, don't be absurd. His very essence is to destroy. We can't change what we are. And Rick's like, why not? You were sane. That changed. And he goes, not really. Insanity is simply sanity taken to new levels. Now if you... And then he basically just says like, well, it goes against his nature. And he's like, yeah, but everything's gone. What is my nature? There's no universe.
Yeah.
Right. He says like, like, what am I if I am randomness and chaos and the degradation of energy and everything, like... But if there's nothing of that, like, I used to be railing against my dad as one of my main identifiers. What am I now? And maybe I should create something, but I don't know how. And he says, where to begin? And Captain Marvel says, I can tell you where to begin. In the beginning. And he takes a gun.
But I do want to clarify, like, I'm pretty sure he's like, what do I even create? And Rick says, you create what you know. And he says, but all I know is what my father was. And Rick said, just use that then. And I think that ties into like the father-son theme, like end up recreating a father anyway.
Yep. And that's a very good point.
It's a really good point. Captain Marvel shoots him in the head, and we get this full page bang, obviously the big bang, in this cosmic explosion. And there's a few pages of just like the creation of the universe.
Yeah.
And it's really cool. You see that the nebula start turning into solids and then planets, and then you see Entropy's eyes open. And it's another really cool shot because it goes from this planet and then his eyeball. It's like a cool.
Yeah.
He looks like eternity as this cosmic silhouette, and he says, "It is good." Fucking
like the Bible.
Yeah.
And everything is basically like it was before, up to where the story started. And I want to bring this up because remember we did Doctor Strange, and Steve Englehart wanted the exact same thing.
Yep.
And Marv was like, "Fuck you." And Peter David just did it randomly in this fucking Z-less story. No one gives a shit about.
Yeah, that's why I assumed there had to be some event that like led to this, because I was
No.
like, no way they would just let this guy kill the entire universe off.
No, but
screen.
that is a sign of like the modern Marvel comics. There's like no continuity nowadays anymore. Like, and you can do anything in your own fucking book.
Oh,
back
okay.
back then they actually gave a shit. Now they really don't.
And so Entropy now looks like Eternity, and he's like, what's going on? And then Epiphany says, that is Entropy. He destroyed the father, only to become the father. And Captain Marvel's like, yeah, okay, I get it.
I get it. We're drowning in symbolism here, literally.
I love this
Yeah.
a lot, because then Eternity goes, it is the cycle. I am the Alpha and Omega. My own beginning, my own end. And Captain Marvel interrupts him. He says, I said I get it, all right? We're drowning in symbolism over here.
And he's like, so Rick Jones says, so it was predestined? This is all some game with a fixed ending? There's no God? The universe was created like this? And he's like, everything is predestined, up until the moment when it happens. At which point, it's anybody's guess. That depends. Whose game you believe we're playing. And then Epiphany's like, it's all as it was, right up until the point you started, when it all started for you. The only thing that hasn't changed is you yourselves. You can remember all this.
And this, and she gives him a kiss, and which gives him like an epiphany, which it cuts back to like back in the beginning where it's the breastfeeding woman.
The woman trying to kill a suicide bomber.
Yeah, and instead he grabs the gun and he breaks it. And it's like shooting a helpless woman, even if she did try to blow you up, just not right. Now, if you'll excuse me, it's not too late to save the alien soldier.
No, it is too late.
Or,
it is too late.
Oh yeah,
yeah. He chooses her over the alien soldier, over the Badoon.
But he says, but trying to be everywhere can just make you crazy. So instead, I'll concentrate on making it to another world to save the girl, the alien woman that's going to be beat by her boyfriend. So he saves her.
The one who will become the Messiah, basically.
Yeah.
And so he saves her, and then it ends with...
just blows the fucking boyfriend up, and...
Yeah.
Now, at this point, I was like, are they really going to take this really, like, crazy story and just wrap it up so nicely? But then it continues.
He's like, he goes, oh my god, what have I done? That terrorist woman whose life I saved, she commits suicide in police custody. As revenge, friends of hers blow up the police station, killing 27, including the husband of that woman who I stopped from killing the terrorist. That baby's father is dead, and this girl now, the one I saved, this peacemaker, after she dies, massive schisms over interpretations of her philosophies divide her acolytes. Love becomes hatred, peace becomes war, massive galaxy-shaking war, the likes of which have never... And he goes, I should go back and kill her. That's it. Kill her myself. But then if I do that, but her teachings save millions, but millions more die, which millions do I save? And he said like, and Rick Jones is like, no, not again. No, Marv, say something. And then
Marv
he just
collapses again, and then he starts laughing. Turns into the Kree costume and flies off laughing like a madman.
Yeah, and then it
ends.
Yeah.
And I was like,
I love to make you think it's going to be, everything's wrapped up, nothing happened really. Nothing constant going to happen.
Yeah.
Nope.
The ending is, cosmic awareness will always make you crazy. There are no exceptions. Good luck.
What is the rest of his book like?
That's what I was wondering.
It's so Val, you read the last issue, right?
So I didn't just read the last issue. I was actually skimming around a bunch of them because I was like, okay, this was pretty crazy. I'm like, it's like where do you go after that? And what it is it basically becomes slice of life with crazy Captain Marvel and Rick Jones as he's like flying around just like doing a bunch of different things. There's an interesting episode an interesting issue where after Entropy became Eternity, it like made some tears in the universe. So what happens is like earlier stages of Rick Jones go to meet him and earlier stages of Captain Marvel go to meet him. And it's all arguing about whether or not like you should kill your earlier self so you don't become the monster you are now.
That's what I love about it. Like, I wouldn't describe it as slice of life. I describe it more of explaining, like exploring all these weird concepts about like time travel, morality. Would you kill your past selves? Should you kill your past selves if you know he's gonna be evil? Would you kill Baby Hitler? If like all these, that's why I fucking love. This is one of my favorite comic series of all time. Like, no joke.
I just want to say, good news. After this book gets canceled, Fabian Nicieza from last episode writes the character again, puts him on the Thunderbolts, and then kills him right away.
Yes, he kills him twice. He kills him fucking twice.
And the last issue is the weirdest one that I read. Because it's literally Peter David pretty much just like saying, go to hell, Marvel, in a way.
Yeah.
Because what happens is like everyone like comes out like after their adventure, they all like get together and they're all talking. Then this guy shows up. He's like, all right, like let's start taking down like the background over here. Let's just start shoveling up all this stuff. And they're like, what are you doing? He's like, oh, we gotta wrap up. Like, we're done. That's it. And they're like, no, our adventure's like, we have to go do this. It's like, no, don't worry. I'll just spoil everything for you right now.
Yeah, they start tearing down the set. They start tearing down the set.
Yeah,
basically.
So wild.
And the guy that appears there is another cosmic entity called Eulogy. and
he's like a comic nerd. He's like a comic nerd except cosmic skin.
Yeah.
and he goes to Rick Jones saying, "You know what's happening, Rick? Captain Marvel might have cosmic awareness, but you have comics awareness. You've been here before. You know it's like being a canceled book."
Okay, that's gold. I'm into that.
I don't mind that much because the story before that is my favorite story of the entire run. It's just a joke. The Max has a similar ending, but they play straight, and that pissed me off even more. Like, the fact that it treats a joke makes me not mind that much, even though you could skip it. You could skip it when you're reading if you ever want to read the trades or anything.
Yeah, and at the very end of it, he's like, Captain Marvel's like, I can't leave yet. Like, I have to like stay here and answer this phone in case someone needs me. Because he ends up like trying to redeem himself and become a good guy again and lose the insanity. And he's like, someone might call and they might need me. He's like, no one needs you. Like, no one's called for you. No one cares about you. Obviously, you know.
Yeah, that's what I love. He's like, Captain Marvel's inspiring. I'm a hero, and they're like, no one really gives a shit about Captain Marvel.
They didn't become afraid of you, Captain. They became bored because they didn't know what to make of you. Your unpredictability became your liability.
No one likes this comic. See,
and they never really cared in the first place, to boo. And so, like, no one cared in the first place, and you're going crazy. No one gives a shit. It's over. It's up and up.
Yeah, and then ends with the Captain Marvel going, "Sorry, Dad, I tried," and then he goes through the teleporter eulogy left for him.
It's funny because I'm like, this guy is such an unknown character, but he's like stronger than anyone else in the Marvel universe. He could kill Thanos, like, you know.
Yeah, that's why I just find it funny because he's so powerful, but like he can't stop comics. Like,
he's like, I can't make people interested in me.
Well, it reminded me of like, there's a Fantastic Four issue where they have to bring like Johnny or Thing back to life, and what they ended up meeting is like essentially God, and he's like, I'm just a writer, I'll just write him back.
That's not God.
In.
They meet Jack Kirby.
Jack Kirby.
Show
yeah,
some respect.
Sorry.
But so unfortunately, like, it ends prematurely, but I think it's still a really good fucking series.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this first arc was... I know we dumped on Genis last time, but, like, you were right.
I was fucking the guy. Like,
yeah, he deserved it.
Yeah. That fucking character was just a 90s... Like, it was Gambit. Let's make Captain Marvel the Gambit.
Yeah.
It sucks. But this is like what a good writer being stuck with a book no one else wants to write, trying to make it fucking sell as best he can, and he came up with some really good stuff.
Yeah, definitely. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much it for the book, unless anybody has any final thoughts.
Yeah, I got some gripes to air here. It's the airing of grievances. No. Well, I like the story overall, but one of the things that I kept coming to that I was like struggling with is when they talk about like him going mad and insane and nuts. It's not that he goes insane as much as he just becomes a nihilistic asshole, which is like,
yes,
I really got into it in the beginning because I'm like, I want to see what like a madman with like cosmic knowledge does, and instead it's just like he's just gonna like do whatever. He's gonna join the Punisher for a bit, then he's gonna go like sleep with his boss's wife, then he's gonna kill himself, and then he's gonna destroy the universe.
So question, but if he went fully crazy, could you make a story about him? Because then he wouldn't have any. It would just be like random acts of God, basically, at that point.
I think that could be interesting.
I think that would be interesting
as a protagonist.
I
like this as it's insane in the sense that like he loses any grip on reality and becomes like a.
I mean, he still has enough of a grip on reality to be like, oh, I need discipline now to go.
But is that really what? That's not what he needed.
He tries discipline and he can't do it.
Mm.
He basically is just like, I am God and nothing means anything. And I do see what you're saying. It is mostly nihilism, but it is pretty crazy that he just like shoots himself. Like
there are acts of you can't say he's not at least partially insane. Like there is insanity, like to kill yourself.
Well, yeah, there's like that unpredictability there. That's
because like when you're describing, I imagine more like random acts. Because then it becomes more like, I don't know as a protagonist that works because it becomes random acts of God. I think you need some driving force. Like you mentioned, off camera, you mentioned Parallax.
Yeah, like one of the things that I wanted to bring up is that this story has very similar beats with Parallax, where it's a good hero that goes like mad, although this is mad through knowledge, whereas Hal went mad through pretty much like being exposed to a lot of tragedy and trauma.
Yeah.
And I really liked Parallax's story because it like, I am so much more down with, we need to recreate the universe to avoid this kind of disaster, rather than here where it's just like, let's just do it. Let's just see what it's like. because nothing matters.
But that's actually random. That's what random gods. I'm saying that's
Sure.
what I'm saying. They need to have some kind of direction. Like Genesis is less focused, but I think you need to have some focus to their madness. Meta review as modernism. I think there is madness here, and I think it's focused enough that it can create a more interesting narrative. I think you need to have some driving force for a character, or else there's nothing pushing the story forward because it just basically just becomes God, our real God, just doing random shit all the time.
Also, one thing I like about this, I do agree. I really like Parallax too, in like the sense like if I remake a new universe, there won't be as much suffering. I think it's interesting too, the idea that infinite power literally doesn't matter because no matter what you do, something bad or good is going to happen as a result, and so you can try your best to know everything and to be ultra powerful and make the universe better. But in the end, you might be saving a mass murderer and killing a someone who's going to become a saint.
He had omniscience, not omnipotence, because he couldn't reshape the universe directly how he wanted. Instead, he was just like, I can only just keep seeing all these mistakes that are being made in the future.
That's definitely an interesting thing for him, because like Parallax had like this omnipotent power, but Captain Marvel, like having omniscience without the power to be able to change anything is such a curse and a burden.
That's why I like. That's why I like it. It's like I think they're both good characters. I think Parallax.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Like, and I like both stories a lot. That's why I fucking gravitate towards. That's why I fucking recommended Parallax. That's why I recommend this story. I think this is this is my jam, and I'm disappointed Darryl fucking hates it.
No. I don't hate it. My thing is like there are just like bits and pieces of me that rub me the wrong way. I'm especially like sensitive to quippiness in like a lot of Marvel comics. I don't like it when I'm like,
that's Peter David style. Peter David's very
So
quippy,
Darryl, why do you like me?
What? Who said I liked you? I didn't say that.
I would erase you from existence, if I could, but I'm not omnipotent, so.
I told them this, that if you got to do something with like Captain Marvel license, like this actually got me to read all 6 issues in a single sitting pretty easily because I was interested in where it was going, and I thought the subject matter was really interesting. Like, if I'm way more into this kind of story than just a regular superhero story where it's like, oh, how do we stop the Kree invasion on the planet? We have to like put a bomb on their thing. I'm way more like, take a really interesting idea of a superhero with omniscience going mad and like run with it.
Because like most of the time, these like the elements of a hero are just plot devices for the comic book story of stop the villain.
Yep.
But this is like a different type of story where it's like let's explore those concepts outside of them being plot devices. And make that the story.
Yeah, the less plot device stuff generally, the more like I can like sit down and get into it, depending on the story.
Cool.
So that wraps it up for Legacyvember, but it's not the end of Captain Marvel. Like we said, we're going back for Carol after the Christmas break.
Yes. We're not actually taking a break. We're doing our regular December episodes.
Yeah, when I say Christmas break, Christmas episodes. Holiday episodes. Holiday episodes.
Cool. So, if you like all this like God talk and all like different sorts of facets of religion, you should listen to the Podstar podcast on the Flying Machine Network. It's more about like the hypocrisy of evangelical voters in America, but it's kind of the same, right? Maybe not.
Well,
anyway,
they are killing us like Captain Marvel killed the universe.
Yeah, but the I find like all these different facets of religion and everything really interesting, and if you do too, there's lots of different ways to explore that, and that's one of them. So yeah, check that and all the other shows out on the flyingmachine.network website. And that's all I got. So take us away, Sly.
So that's my Divisive Issues. Thank y'all for listening. I saved the world millions of times, but I failed it once, and now fuck me, I guess.
I've been killing my father just to become him.
I've been the Alpha and the Omega, my own beginning and my own end. All right, whatever. It's too much symbolism.
Yeah.
And I've been no one.
Staying continuity.